birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda ji. 本日はインド大使館にご来場いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。本日のイベント、スワミ・ビベカナンダ氏生誕160年記念式典は間もなく開始となります。式典に先立ちまして、国歌の斉唱をお願いしたいと思います。The program will commence shortly. May I request all to rise for the national anthems of Japan and India, please. Please be seated. 皆様ご着席ください。Now, may I request His Excellency Sri C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Japan, Sri Mayank Joshi, Deputy Chief of Mission, and Ms. Kanika Agarwal, Director, Vivekananda Cultural Center, to unveil the portrait of Swami Vivekananda. それでは大会に先立ちまして、駐日インド大使、シビジョージ閣下、首席講師、マヤンク女子、ビベカナンダ文化センター、カニカ・アガルワル所長に、スワミ・ビベカナンダ氏の肖像に祈りを捧げていただきたいと思います。We thank the dignitaries. Now may I request His Excellency Sri C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Japan, to address the gathering, please.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. Let me begin by wishing you all a very happy and healthy New Year 2023 and also greetings of the National Youth Day. It gives me great pleasure to address you all today and to welcome you all to this event. Today we commemorate the life of not just an individual, but a phenomenon who cannot be described in just mere words. Swami Vivekananda was a colossal figure in our nation's history who played a leading role in bringing about a new awakening in India. I recall how he inspired my generation when, as school children, we used to recite his powerful words: arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Swami Vivekananda emphasized on the ideals of service and renunciation. His belief in Yuva Shakti was unwavering, which found expression in his iconic saying, "Give me 100 believing youth, and I shall transform India." Belief here means belief in oneself. I recall the words of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, who said, and I quote, "Our freedom fighters were influenced by Swami Vivekananda. His works have always been effective in instilling nationalism in the youth. Time passed, the country became independent, but we still see Swamiji's influence today. What he said about spirituality, nationalism, and nation building, his thoughts about Jan Seva and Jag Seva flow within us with the same intensity." I unquote. Dear friends, as a student and later as a diplomat, I was fortunate to visit many places associated with the life of Swamiji. The Vivekananda Memorial in Kanyakumari, the southernmost point of the Indian peninsula where the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, and the Bay of Bengal meet, where Swamiji is believed to have attained his enlightenment. His ancestral home in Kolkata, the site in Chicago where he delivered the historic 1893 address, which is still hailed as the most memorable speech that introduced India's civilization ethos, our mantra of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, to the Western world. Today, this message is being spread across the world when we adopted Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future, as the central theme of our G20 presidency. Dear friends, Swamiji's message has spread all across the world. I recall one of the first places in Switzerland that I visited as India's ambassador was Saas-Fee to pay homage to Swami Vivekananda, who traveled to that beautiful town in the Alps mountain in 1896, where a memorial and a statue of Swamiji stand. One felt so happy to see how Indians and foreigners visit Saas-Fee in large numbers to pay homage to him. And today, when we assemble here to celebrate his birth anniversary, I recall his visit to Japan in 1893 on his way to Chicago. He reportedly said that the key to Japan's greatness is the faith of the Japanese in themselves and their love for their country. Unquote. You would recall that how Honorable Prime Minister had referred to the words of Swami Vivekananda in his address to the community in Tokyo last year. Dear friends, I am happy that we are unveiling this portrait of Swamiji today at the embassy. His teachings will continue to influence the lives of every Indian, whether in India or abroad. This portrait will serve as a reminder to us and also to all visitors to our mission on the contributions of Swamiji, who energized the young people, made them aware, and unleashed their creative energies. It will be a reminder for us all on the Indianness that Swamiji embodied, which continues to guide and inspire us and continue to inspire millions of our young brothers and sisters. Let me conclude by quoting Honorable Prime Minister's words again. I quote, "It was Swamiji who said that the fearless, bold, and clean-hearted, courageous, and aspirational youth is the foundation on which the future of the nation is built. He always believed on youth and youth power." Unquote. I once again thank you all for your participation today. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Your Excellency. 大使閣下、ありがとうございました。Next, we'll be screening a video detailing the life of Swami Vivekananda ji presented by Vedanta Society。続きましては、スワーミー・ビベカナンダ氏の生涯を綴った、ドキュメンタリー映画をご覧いただきたいと思います。
Heading first for Chicago, where the Parliament of Religions was to be held at the Art Institute, Vivekananda's first experience of the West was far from encouraging. With little money, no prior arrangements, hungry and weary, he knocked on many doors but was met with indifference. It was some chance acquaintances which developed into warm friendships that changed everything. He stayed temporarily as a guest in a farmhouse called Breezy Meadows in Massachusetts. Here, his lectures on India attracted many admirers. Dr. Henry Wright, professor of Greek at Harvard, was one such admirer who soon became an invaluable friend. While arranging introductions for the Parliament of Religions, he said, "To ask you, Swami, for your credentials is like asking the sun for its right to shine." On Monday, September the 11th, 1893, the Parliament of Religions began its deliberations to discuss the major human concerns of the time. The spacious hall was packed with 7,000 people waiting to hear the delegates who rose to speak their well-rehearsed speeches one by one. Most delegates spoke about their own sect, eager to demonstrate the superiority of their ideals over others. The unknown Hindu monk was totally unprepared. He had never before addressed such an assembly. When he was asked to speak, he was overcome by stage fright and asked the chairman to call him a little later. Several times he postponed the summons. At last he came to the rostrum. He began simply, "Sisters and brothers of America," he said. Instantly, thousands rose in their seats, cheering and applauding, deeply moved to hear a man who had shed formal words to speak to them with the natural warmth of a brother. It was some time before the applause subsided. The Swami spoke of the oneness of all religions, and quoting the Hindu scriptures said, "Whosoever comes to me in whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through different paths, which in the end lead to me." He also spoke of the need to end sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilization, and sent whole nations to despair. But their time is come, and I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword or the pen, and of all uncharitable feelings between persons wending their way to the same goal. The effect was electric. The 30-year-old monk changed the nature of the Parliament. People clamored to hear him. The New York Herald said, "He is undoubtedly the greatest figure in the Parliament." And the Boston Evening Post wrote, "He is a great favorite at the Parliament. If he merely crosses the platform, he is applauded." They keep Vivekananda till the end of the program to make people stay till the end. The Swami addressed the Congress at least a dozen times, transforming a dry, often antagonistic gathering of theologians into a vital and fruitful encounter between East and West. He explained the essentials of India's spiritual and philosophical thought. He touched upon the central truth, to evolve God out of man, that bound the three great Indian religions, Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. It was the same desire to harmonize different religions that led him to write later of the need to combine Vedantic theories with practical Islam. India, he said, needed a Vedanta brain and Islam body. But Vivekananda was clear about the immediate reality before the Indian people. The crying need in the East, he reminded his affluent audience, was not of religion. It is bread that the suffering millions of burning India cry out for, with parched throats. It is an insult to a starving people to offer them religion. It's an insult to a starving man to teach him metaphysics. Soon after the Congress, he went on a whirlwind tour of the Midwest and the East, delivering a dozen or more lectures a week. His travels earned him the title of the Cyclonic Hindu. But his path was not always easy. The young man's courage and outspoken attitude disturbed some. His words particularly angered the Christian missionaries, who reacted to his criticism of the West's greed and hypocrisy. At a meeting, he told them, "You are not Christians, return to Christ." Vivekananda moved to the East Coast, where he began serious spiritual discourses and completed his great work, Raja Yoga, which was widely acclaimed. He founded the Vedanta Society of New York in 1894, with tolerance and religious universalism as its guiding principles. In the 4 years that he was away in both America and Europe, Vivekananda built up a large following. Some of his foreign disciples decided to give up everything they had and join him in his work in India. Notable among them were Margaret Noble, later Sister Nivedita, who devoted herself to women's education in India; J.J. Goodwin, Sister Christine, Josephine MacLeod, Captain and Mrs. Sevier. In 1897, enriched by his 4 years of travel in the West, the Swami felt the immediate task before him was to work for India's regeneration from within the country. He had come to America unknown and unsure of his position. He now returned to his homeland as a hero and as its most important advocate of Vedanta. Shortly before he came back to his country, Vivekananda had said, "Now I have but one thought, and that is India." It was a triumphant return for the beggar sannyasi. In Madras, where he first landed, and later in Calcutta at the Showbazar Palace, he was given a rousing reception. Unprecedented crowds collected to greet him and welcome him home. But for Vivekananda, this was the beginning of the practical implementation of his life's work. Away from the public gaze, there was a quieter reunion with his brother monks. Together they moved the monastery across the river to a garden house at Belur. He spent hours meditating in his room overlooking the water. With a clear view of Baranagar, where he last saw Ramakrishna, and of Dakshineshwar, where almost a decade earlier he had met the master who changed his life. It was in an adjoining area on the banks of the river that he formally consecrated Belur Mott in 1898. A few months after his return, he decided to establish the Ramakrishna mission, distinct from the monastery at Belur but interrelated. It would be based on the non-sectarian teachings of the Vedanta and would emphasize humanitarian services, education and social work. The institutional framework was thus established for the worship of God through the service of man. I consider, he said, that the great national sin is the neglect of the masses, and that this is one of the causes of our downfall. If we want to regenerate India, we must work for them. The education of women was also one of Vivekananda's primary concerns, and within a year after his return, the Nivedita Girls' School was started. Vivekananda also outlined his idea of a monastery exclusively for women. His idea has taken full shape in the Sharda Mott, only a few hundred yards from Dakshineshwar. Run and managed entirely by women monks, the Sharda Monastery continues to attract women from all over India and the world to work for women's education, training and health with centers all over the country. Inspired by his goal of India's regeneration, Vivekananda set up institution after institution to improve both material and spiritual life in the country. Those modest beginnings have grown into an enormous network of spiritual and humanitarian services all over the nation, from hospitals to schools for girls and boys, to institutions for the disabled, orphanages, and cultural centers. And of course the 99 Ramakrishna monasteries and missions in India and 33 in different parts of the world, from America and Europe to Russia and Japan. All of them based on the essence of Vedanta, the oneness of all being. It was here in his favorite room that he spent most of his time during his last years. Throughout his life, music and writing had been a passion with Vivekananda. And at Belur, in this corner of the room overlooking the river, he continued his work, writing about his intense love of India. Despite a second trip to the West, it was his work in India that remained his passion in these years. On his return to Madras in 1897, he declared, "For the next 50 years, this alone shall be our keynote. This, our great Mother India." Now back in Belur, writing his most important essays on national problems, he wanted everyone to proclaim with him, "The soil of India is my highest heaven." He had often blamed the educated but parasitical upper classes for the nation's decline. Now he wrote, "Forget not that the lower classes, the ignorant, the poor, the illiterate, the cobbler, the sweeper, are your flesh and blood, your brothers." About his works, Mahatma Gandhi wrote, "After having gone through them, the love I had for my country became 1,000-fold." Subhash Chandra Bose called Vivekananda the spiritual father of the modern nationalist movement. Nehru described him as one of the great founders of the modern national movement of India. Sri Aurobindo saw in his work the awakening soul of the nation. And Tagore said, "Read Vivekananda. if you want to know India. But Vivekananda's health was failing, and he didn't live long after his ideas were put into effect. Now, even traveling in India, which had so sustained him in the past, was becoming tiring and difficult. Even so, in 1902, he made the journey to Varanasi. It was to be the last time that he returned to this, the seat of Shiva, on the banks of the Ganga.
A song on Swami Vivekananda sung in Sanskrit by Swami Divyanathananda. This song will be a performance of song by Swami Divyanathananda while he will play the harmonium. こちらの演目は、スワミ・ディヴィアナタナンダ、氏が、お送りします。歌とインドのハルモニウム、という楽器、を使っての演奏となります。
मूर्तमहेश्वरम् उज्ज्वलभास्करम् इष्टममरनरबन्धम् मूर्तमहेश्वरम् उज्ज्वलभास्करम् इष्टममरनरवन्द्यम् वन्दे वेदतनुमुञ्झितगर्हित काञ्चनकामिनीवान्धम् मूर्तमहेश्वरम् उज्ज्वलभास्करम् इष्टममरनरवन्द्यम् कोटिभानुकरदीप्तसिंहमः कटितटकोऽपि नवान्तम् कोटिभानुकरदीप्तसिंहमः कटितटकोऽपि नवान्तम् अभिरभिहुङ्करनादितदिङ्मुख प्रचण्डताण्डवनृत्यम् मूर्तमहेश्वरम् उज्ज्वलभास्करम् इष्टममरनरवन्द्यम् मुक्तिमुक्तिकृपाकटाक्षप्रेक्षणम् अघदलविदलनदाक्षम् मुक्तिमुक्तिकृपाकटाक्षप्रेक्षणम् अघदलविदलनदाक्षम् बालचन्द्रधरविन्द्युवान्द्यमिह नौमि गुरुविवेकानन्दम् बालचन्द्रधरविन्द्युवन्द्यमिह नौमि गुरुविवेकानन्दम् मूर्तमहेश्वरम् उज्ज्वलभास्करम् इष्टममरनरवन्द्यम् मूर्तमहेश्वरम् उज्ज्वलभास्करम् इष्टममरनरवन्द्यम् इष्टममरनरवन्द्यम्
Thank you, Swami Divyanathananda. Swami Divyanathananda 氏による歌をお送りしました。ありがとうございました。Next, we will have a song on Swami Vivekananda in Japanese language by Miss Shanti Izumida. 続きましては、日本語でのスワミ・ビベカナンダ氏に捧げる、歌を、シャンティ・イズミダ様に披露していただきます。
来たの？私たち皆の苦しみ救うため焼き尽くす 知恵の炎あなたは道を照らすあなたは今も私に教える強くあれ強くあれ己を信じてSwami Vivekananda 大いなる英知永遠の勇者清く優しいお方あなたの言葉あなたの祈りあなたの涙心に刻みます神を愛し働き続け人生で自ら示すあなたに続きます勇気の源霊性の泉真理の導き手スワミ・ビベカナンダ大いなる英知永遠の勇者清く優しいお方スワミ・ビベカナンダ
A wonderful performance. 素晴らしい歌をありがとうございました。Please bear with us for a few moments while we set the stage for the next item in the performance. A hearty thanks to the members of Vedanta Society who have given us wonderful performances on the stage. 素晴らしいパフォーマンスを披露していただいた、ベランタ、協会の、スワミ・ディビア・ナタナンダ氏、シャンティ・ズミダ、様に御礼を申し上げたいと思います。Next, we will have a talk on the contributions of Swami Vivekananda-ji by Professor Hiroyuki Sato Sensei, professor at Musashino University. それでは続きまして、武蔵野大学教授、佐藤博之先生による、ビベイカナンダ氏に関するご講演を賜りたいと思います。それではよろしくお願いします。
Good evening, everyone. 皆さん、こんにちは。ですね。Namaskar, Bharatiya or Japanese Dost. ですね。First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to His Highness, Ambassador of India, C.B. George, and the Director of Vivekananda Culture Center, Miss Kanika Agrawalji, and all of the staff of Embassy of India. I am very delighted to celebrate Swami Vivekananda's 160th birth anniversary with you. And I am very honored to get the opportunity to give a speech on this stage. Now, I would like to speak on interpretation of Vedanta philosophy by Swami Vivekananda in Hindi, because I am speaking in Hindi more than in English and more than in Japanese. And I prepared the Japanese subtitle. Please watch on this screen. सबसे पहले मैं स्वामी विवेकानंद के विचारों पर दिए हुए प्रभावों के विषय में बताना चाहूंगा। उनका जन्म कलकत्ता के एक हिंदू परिवार में था, इसलिए उन्होंने भारतीय दर्शन का अध्ययन किया, परंतु पाश्चात्य विचारों से भी अपना परिचय बढ़ाया और इनके साथ साथ उन्होंने दुनिया के विभिन्न धर्मों को समझने के लिए प्रयास किया। स्वामी विवेकानंद के विचारों पर दिए हुए प्रभाव केवल भारतीय दर्शन नहीं था, तथापि उनके विचारों पर सबसे गहरा प्रभाव भारतीय दर्शन का था। भारतीय दर्शन में परंपरा के अनुसार कई प्रकार के संप्रदाय है। उदाहरण के लिए सांख्य, योग, मीमांसा तथा वेदांता इत्यादि। उनमें से वेदांता दर्शन का प्रभाव उनके विचारों पर सबसे गहरा था, इसलिए उनका विचार कभी कभी नवीन वेदांता दर्शन भी कहलाते हैं। जबकि लगभग 8वीं शताब्दी के आदि शंकराचार्य उनके विचार सिर्फ वेदांता दर्शन ही कहलाते हैं। वेदांत दर्शन के विषय में स्वामी विवेकानंद और आदि शंकराचार्य की व्याख्या में समानता भी है और भिन्नता भी है। अभी ये मैं बताना चाहूंगा, परंतु मुझे लगता है कि वेदांता दर्शन के विषय में बताकर समझना आसानी की बात नहीं है, इसलिए मैं केवल 2 विषय ही बताना चाहूंगा। एक ब्रह्म का स्वरूप, दूसरा ब्रह्म एवं ईश्वर। ब्रह्म आत्मा के साथ भारतीय दर्शनों के सबसे महत्वपूर्ण प्रत्यय है। कम शब्दों में ब्रह्म का विवरण करना बहुत कठिन है, तथापि ऐसा बता सकते हैं कि ब्रह्म तो ईश्वर से भिन्न एक शाश्वत तत्व अथवा सबसे मौलिक तत्व अथवा जगत में व्याप्त तत्व है। ब्रह्म का जन्म भी नहीं है और उनका नाश भी कभी नहीं। ब्रह्म का आदि भी नहीं है और अंत भी नहीं है। सब वस्तुओं के नष्ट होने के बाद भी ब्रह्म विद्यमान और वर्तमान है। उन ब्रह्म को जापानी भाषा में अनुवाद किया जाता है तो पों तो जाता है। जापानी भाषा में पोंतेन शब्द भी है जो ब्रह्म को अनुवाद किया गया। ब्रह्म पों है, एक तत्व है, जबकि ब्रह्मा पोंतेन ब्रह्मा तत्व नहीं है बल्कि जगत निर्माता भगवान है। इस ब्रह्म के स्वरूप के विषय में आदि शंकराचार्य ने सत चित आनंद विवरण किया है। सत का अर्थ अभी मेरे द्वारा बताया शाश्वतत्व है, सदा विद्यमानत्व है। चित्त का अर्थ आध्यात्मिकता या भावना है और इसका तात्पर्य, चित्त का तात्पर्य ऐसा भी विवरण कर सकते हैं कि ब्रह्म लिंग एवं आकार से रहित है। आनंद का अर्थ प्रसन्नता अथवा खुशी है, परंतु ये साधारण प्रसन्नता नहीं है, परम उत्तम प्रसन्नता है जो मोक्ष की प्राप्ति के बाद मिलती है। स्वामी विवेकानंद आदि शंकराचार्य के विचार के अनुसार उनके सत एवं चित्त की व्याख्या मानते हैं, परंतु आनंद के विषय में तो स्वामी विवेकानंद ने आदि शंकराचार्य से भिन्न व्याख्या दी है। स्वामी विवेकानंद कहते हैं कि आनंद के मूल में प्रेम है। आदि शंकराचार्य के अनुसार आनंद परम प्रसन्नता है। स्वामी विवेकानंद के लिए परंतु प्रेम ही परम प्रसन्नता है। विवेकानंद के लिए ब्रह्म का स्वरूप आनंद ही नहीं है, प्रेम है। उन्होंने सोचा कि प्रेम सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है। तो क्यों स्वामी विवेकानंद ने ऐसी व्याख्या दी? मेरे विचार तो यह है कि उन्होंने अपने अनुभव के अनुसार ब्रह्म में साक्षात प्रेम का महसूस किया और शायद उन्होंने सोचे होंगे कि प्रेम ही परम आनंद है जो मोक्ष की प्राप्ति के बाद मिलता है, वो प्रेम है। उन्होंने शास्त्र के अध्ययन से ही अपना विचार नहीं बनाया बल्कि अपने अनुभव से भी बनाया है। वे कहते हैं, स्वामी आनंद जी कहते हैं कि जब तक जीना तब तक सीखना। अनुभव ही जगत में सर्वश्रेष्ठ शिक्षा है। अब ब्रह्म एवं ईश्वर के विषय में बताना चाहूंगा। आदि शंकराचार्य कहते हैं केवल ब्राह्मण ही सत्य है, ब्राह्मण के अतिरिक्त सब सत्य नहीं है। इसलिए आदि शंकराचार्य के अनुसार ईश्वर भी सत्य नहीं है। तथापि आदि शंकराचार्य सत्य को दो प्रकार में विभाजन करते हैं। एक पारमार्थिक सत्य, दूसरा व्यावहारिक सत्य। ब्रह्म पारमार्थिक सत्य, ईश्वर पारमार्थिक सत्य नहीं है, सिर्फ व्यावहारिक सत्य। व्यावहारिक सत्य को समझना भी आसान काम नहीं है। तथापि ये समझा सकते हैं कि व्यावहारिक सत्य तो निम्न सत्य, नीचा सत्य अथवा मोक्ष प्राप्त करने तक सत्य। आदि शंकराचार्य के अनुसार ब्रह्मन एवं ईश्वर भिन्न है और ब्रह्मन ईश्वर से ऊपर है। परंतु स्वामी विवेकानंद जी कहते हैं ब्रह्मन एवं ईश्वर दो नहीं है, दोनों में भिन्नता नहीं है। उनका कहना है कि ब्रह्म तथा ईश्वर का भेद सत्य का भेद नहीं है, दृष्टि का भेद है। दोनों भी सत्य है, दोनों भी पारमार्थिक सत्य है, परंतु दार्शनिक दृष्टि से वो ब्रह्म है, धार्मिक दृष्टि से वो ईश्वर है। स्वामी विवेकानंद ने वेदांता दर्शन पर आधारित हुए उनके विचार को साधारण लोगों के दिल तक पहुंचने के लिए प्रयत्न किया। इसलिए ईश्वर के विषय में ऐसी व्याख्या की। मुझे लगता है कि उनकी ऐसी व्याख्या से साधारण लोग भी वेदांता दर्शन के साथ स्वामी विवेकानंद जी का विचार समझ सकते हैं। स्वामी विवेकानंद जी पारंपरिक वेदांत के विचार पर आधारित हुए अपना विचार स्थापित किया है। उसी काम से पारंपरिक वेदांत को नया जीवन दिया है और साधारण लोगों से भी वेदांत को समझने की कोशिश किया है। अंत में मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा, वस्तुतः स्वामी विवेकानंद जी महान व्यक्ति थे और महान व्यक्ति है और महान व्यक्ति रहेंगे। इसका कारण बताने की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है। भारतीय लोगों को उनके जीवन और उनके विचार से जीने की प्रेरणा और जीने की ताकत मिलती रहती है। केवल भारतीय लोगों को नहीं, दुनिया के सब लोगों को भी मिलती है। मुझे इस पर पूरा विश्वास है कि जापानी लोगों को भी स्वामी विवेकानंद जी के जीवन और विचारों से जीने की प्रेरणा और जीने की ताकत जरूर मिलेगी। वे जापानी लोगों को, स्वामी विवेकानंद जी जापानी लोगों को जीने का मार्ग दिखाएंगे। इसलिए मैं आशा करता हूं कि स्वामी विवेकानंद जी का उपदेश जापान में अधिक प्रचलित हो जाएगाですね. तो मेरी बात सुनने के लिए आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
佐藤先生、ありがとうございました。We thank Professor Hiroki Sato for his enlightening presentation. Next, we will have an online address by Sri Tuhin Kumar, Director General of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. We will have the address from 6:35, so we ask you to bear with us while we wait for Director General to join. 続きましては、インド文化交流評議会 ICCR、長官、トゥヒン、クマール氏による、オンラインでの、講演がございます。ただいまよりですね、オンラインでおつなぎしますので、もう少々、お待ちいただきをお願い申し上げます。
बोला सर उनको पूछे उनको कि पूछो कि आवाज आ रही है? यस स्पीक।
हेलो, आवाज आ रही है? सर की आवाज आ रही है? जी सर,
अभी अभी आवाज आ रही है?
अभी आ रही है।
आ रही है आवाज अभी?
वीडियो भी ऑन कर लीजिए प्लीज।
आवाज आ रही है? शुरू करना है?
हाँ
Can't see me. ऐसे ही इसको मानना है? ओके क्या शुरू कर दूं? Okay, so it's a little difficult because I can't get any feedback whether की आवाज जा रही नहीं जा रही।
अच्छे से किया।
आवाज आ रही है?
हो गया।
ठीक, ओके चलो ठीक, ओके गुड। Okay, so a very good afternoon to you all. Director of the Vivekananda Cultural Center in Tokyo, other distinguished guests, let me convey my greetings to all of you on the occasion of National Youth Day, which is celebrated every year on 12th of January, that is today, the birthday of Swami Vivekananda, who devoted his entire life for the nation and whose thoughts still inspire the youth. He was a great spiritual leader and thinker who played a seminal role in creating awareness, especially in the West, about the rich Indian philosophy and thought system. Now, as we remember Swami Vivekananda today, it will be proper to also spend some moments thinking about the great treasure of Indian philosophy that he so ardently promoted and preached. Now, though the world has changed considerably in its outward aspect, and which is basically dealing with the material aspect, the means of communication, scientific inventions, etc. But there has not been any great change in the inner spiritual side and the old forces of hunger, of love, and the simple joys and fears of the heart. These all belong to the permanent stuff of human nature. And therefore, the true interests of the humanity, the deep passions of religion, and the great issues that confront philosophy, they have not been superseded as material things have been. Now, it is here that one can see that ignorance of the subject of Indian thought is still quite profound in many areas. In fact, till about the end of last century, to many persons, the Indian philosophy meant basically two or three simple notions, such as the Maya, which was delusiveness of the world, karma or believing fate, tyag or the ascetic desire to be rid of the flesh. So even these simple notions, it is said, they were wrapped in some very complicated nomenclature, and they were looked upon as wonders of the intellect. However, the interest in and the understanding of Indian philosophy in recent few decades, it has increased. Now there is a realization that it is not merely a pantheism or a mere play upon the words, but Indian philosophy is also an extraordinary mass of material which, for detail and variety, has hardly any equal in any other part of the world. The Indian philosophical thought is also understood as having contributed to the history of human thought, even at least equal to what the Western thinkers have done. And there is hardly any height of spiritual insight or rational philosophy which has not found its parallel in the range of philosophies that we had from the early Vedas and till the modern Nayaics. Now, if we see the entire range of our philosophy, starting from the Vedic poets and from there to Upanishads, the marvelous, the analysis of the Buddhists and the fantastic system of Shankar. So these are all quite as interesting and as instructive from the cultural point of view as the systems of either Aristotle or Plato or of Kant and Hegel. So if only we study our system in a true scientific frame of mind, without disrespect for the past or contempt for the strange or for the new. The Indian achievements are also particularly fascinating in view of the obvious fact that the philosophical speculations of India, these were formulated so many centuries ago, and they did not have behind them the brilliant achievements of modern science, which in fact helped to a considerable extent the Western philosophies. So, given this background, what I would like to again mention is that the Indian philosophy, this has stood on its own legs, this has stood on its own merit for a very long time. In fact, if I may mention to you that while in the West, the philosophy was always built on many other pursuits together. For example, in the Middle Ages, it was theology. Again, it was history, politics, and sociology in the 19th century thinkers. But in India, it was not the case. If you see, it was always considered as the master science which guided other sciences, and without which the other sciences would probably appear empty. So if you, for example, see the Mundaka Upanishads, they speak of the Brahma Vidya or the science of the eternal as the basis of all the sciences, including, in fact, in the Kautilya, who is considered one of our oldest philosophers. In his book, he mentions that philosophy is the lamp of all the sciences, the means of performing all the works, and the support of all the duties. Now, after having mentioned about all this, which is basically to deal with philosophy, its origin in different types, what I could mention here is that while this may appear very complicated, but we should pay our gratitude to thinkers such as Swami Vivekananda, who explained some of this very complex stuff into easier terms and made it understandable to the ordinary. We have all heard about the six main branches of philosophy: the Sankhya, the Nyaya, the Vaisheshik, the Mimamsa, and the Vedanta, etc. And also the rough correspondences of these branches with the contemporary modern philosophy. If you see the book written by William Jones, in which he mentions that the Nyaya school probably appears analogous to the Peripatetic. The Vaisheshik also looks similar to the Ionic, and the Mimamsas, both Mimamsas, in fact, the Vedanta, which is closer to the Platonic, and the Sankhya to the Italic. So these words again sound very, very difficult, but the important thing is that people like Swami Vivekananda, they made all this look so simple and made it understandable to the ordinary. And I hope that the event that we are organizing today, this will throw more light on the life and works of Swami Vivekananda, and they will also encourage the youth of today to emulate him and work to expand the reach of Indian philosophy in the West, which will truly be a tribute actually to Swami Vivekananda today on his birthday anniversary. And therefore, I convey my greetings to you all on this day, and also convey my tribute to this great philosopher, this great thinker, Swami Vivekananda, who made all of us proud and whose anniversary we are celebrating today. So with these words, let me convey my best wishes and greetings to all of you today. Thank you very much.
So allow me to express gratitude to Sri Tuhin Kumar, Director General of ICCR, who has given us a very enlightening speech over online. ただいまご覧いただきましたのは、インド文化交流評議会 ICCR 長官、トゥヒンクマール氏による、スピーチでございました。Now I would like to invite onto the stage respected Swami Vivekananda, President of Vedanta Society, to give his talk on Swami Vivekananda. 続きましては、ベーランタ協会、会長、スワミ・メラサナンダ氏に、講演を賜りたいと思います。それではよろしくお願いします。
Okay. Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. The English translation. Swami Vivekananda, the illustrious monk, was a man of supreme wisdom. His true nature is existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. And he is the remover of sufferings of the humanity. I bow down to Swami Vivekananda. His Excellency Mr. C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Japan, Mrs. Konika Agarwal, Director, Vivekananda Culture Center, Professor Horoyuki Sato, and dear friends, Namaskar, Komawa. Before I begin, permit me to express my deep gratitude to the authority of the Embassy of India for having kindly granted me this opportunity to speak on the occasion of the Vivekananda Jayanti organized by the Embassy. Swami Vivekananda is undeniably an eminent figure in the religious history of our world for his spiritual height, his message of religious harmony, universalism, and the influence exerted on vast numbers of people. There is not a single national leader of early 20th century India who was not profoundly inspired by the patriotic and soul-stirring messages of Vivekananda. For among these, swayed by his dynamism and vitality, were Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, to name a few. Also among his ardent admirers were renowned Westerners such as Leo Tolstoy and Roma Rolla. In our days as well, world leaders like President Barack Obama of the USA and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan were admirers of Vivekananda. The government of India has declared the birth date of Vivekananda as a day for youth. This is due to the fact that they view him as a role model for India's young people, regardless of the variations in their socio-religious settings. His gospel of power, positive outlook, and optimism continually serve as an impetus for the youth, urging them onwards to attain ever greater heights. An oft-quoted advice of his to the youth is the following, quote, "Be strong, my young friends. This is my advice to you. You will be nearer to heaven through football than through the study of the Bhagavad Gita. You will understand the Gita better with your biceps, your muscles a little stronger." Vivekananda was a Hindu by faith, yet he transcended Hinduism. In this context, he said, quote, "It is good to be born in a church, but not to die in it." He also declared, quote, "I accept all religions that were in the past and worship with them all. I shall go to the mosque of the Mohammedan. I shall enter the church, the Christian's church, and kneel before the crucifix. I shall enter the Buddhist temple, where I shall take refuge in Buddha and his laws. I shall go into the forest and sit down in meditation with the Hindu who is trying to see the light that enlightens the heart of everyone." Incidentally, he learned this idea of religious pluralism from his mentor, Sri Ramakrishna, the God-man of modern India. Sri Ramakrishna was a practitioner not just of Hinduism, but also Christianity and Islam, proclaimed as follows, quote, "As many faiths, so many paths." That is, Every religion is a path to the realization of God. Unquote. Vivekananda was indeed a monk. Yet, he was never a monk in the conventional sense of the term, and herein lies his uniqueness. He used to reiterate that, quote, the old religion said that he was an atheist who did not believe in God. The new religion says that he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. Another stimulating utterance of his is this, quote, I do not believe in a religion or God who cannot wipe away the tears of a widow or bring a piece of bread to the orphan's mouth. He newly defined God by using the words, unselfishness is God. Vivekananda used to insist that the poor, the exploited, and the downtrodden of all nations are God to him. Long before, he laid great emphasis on empowerment of women and uplift of the poor and exploited. He always urged his countrymen to serve such people by viewing them as veritable God. And he gave the following advice, quote, where would you go to find God? Are not all the poor, the miserable, and the weak God? Why not worship them first? Unquote. In accordance with Vivekananda's advice, the Ramakrishna mission that was initiated by him in 1897 with his headquarters in India, and of which this Vedanta Society of Japan is a branch, has taken on multiple philanthropic activities in a diversity of fields. These include education, medical care, activities that are cultural, tribal and rural, care of orphans, relief work during natural disasters, and others. These are realized by a vast network of over 190 outlets, that's branches, spread all over India. Though foreigners have a little awareness of the service activities of the mission. Vivekananda visited Japan for 2 weeks in July in 1893. This was on his way to Chicago to participate in the world's first Parliament of Religions in September of that year as a delegate of Hinduism. This was when he has made that historical speech that commented with the words, sisters and brothers of America. And I guess many of you know about this. Please mark here the sequence of address. First comes the address sisters, then it is followed by brothers of America. The first sister, next brothers, first mother, next father. This shows Swamiji's special respect for the women folk. During his visit to Japan, Vivekananda observed the many sterling qualities of the Japanese, and he came to value them highly. He wanted Indians to imbibe some of these qualities, such as patriotism, devotion to work, discipline, and cleanliness. On the other hand, Japan also needed to learn from India about spirituality. On the occasion, When Mr. Okakura Tenshin and Reverend Oda, two reputed Japanese of the time, had gone to India to invite Swamiji to revisit Japan, Reverend Oda implored him during their meeting of 2nd April 1902 with the words, quote, "You must come and help us. Japan stands in need of a religious awakening, and we do not know of anyone else who can bring about this much desired consummation." However, Swamiji could not oblige them on account of his poor health. At this point, permit me to offer some personal observations. I do so on the basis of my residence of nearly 30 years in this great country, which I have come to dearly love and appreciate. I am of the view that though the people of this country have many superb qualities, yet it is evident that due to the lack of spiritual support, they increasingly confront many psychological and relational problems. To redress this acute issue, a study of Vivekananda by the local people would be truly helpful, as in Vivekananda, they would find a spirituality that is genuine, universal, and rationalistic, and which would sustain them on the battleground of life. I am so happy that Professor Hiroyuki, who gave the same advice to the Japanese people in his speech today. Swamiji once made a profound remark on the India-Japan relationship. He said, "Certainly it is desirable to establish a connection between India and Japan. With the passage of time, the significance of this advice by Swamiji is increasingly being felt, and we are happy to note today that both in Japan and India, Vivekananda's advice is actually being executed at different levels. For around the past 27 years, the Vedanta Society of Japan has been organizing a public celebration of the birth anniversary of Vivekananda in Tokyo around the month of May. This event is supported by many Japanese and Indians in various ways, and most of all by the Embassy of India, and is well attended. We heartily congratulate the Embassy of India for having organized for the first time at the Vivekananda Cultural Center the Vivekananda Jayanti on 12th January this year, which happens to be his very birthday. We are also immensely happy and thankful to His Excellency Mr. C.B. George for deciding to place the portrait of Swami Vivekananda in this auditorium henceforth. We are also thankful to Mrs. Konika Agarwal, Director, Vivekananda Cultural Center, for taking initiative in this regard. Thank you. Now, to conclude, let me pray to Swami Vivekananda for the peace and well-being of all, including all those who are present here. Thank you for your kind attention. Namaskar.
Thank you, Swamiji, for your most enlightening lecture. スワミ・メーラーサナンダ氏による、ご講演を賜りました。ありがとうございました。それで では続きまして、文化パフォーマンスをお送りいたしますが、その前に、ステージのセッティングを行いますので、もう少々お待ちください。We now request your kind patience while we set the stage for the cultural performance to come. Thank you for your kind patience. Now we will have a performance of Bharatanatyam dance by Miss Erika Imanari of the Embassy of India, Japan. The performance item is Natanam Adinar. 続きましては、インド大使館職員、今成エリカさんによる、インド古典舞踊、バラタナティアムのパフォーマンスを賜りたいと思います。演目はナタナム・アディナールとなります。 A big thank you to Miss Erika Imanari for an absolutely stellar performance. May we have one more round of applause, please. インド大使館職員、今成エリカさんによる、インド古典舞踊バラタナティアムのパフォーマンスをお送りしました。 This concludes the program for today. I would now like to invite Ms. Kanika Agarwal, Director, Vivekananda Culture Center, to give the closing remarks, please. これにより、本日の、プログラムは、終了となりますが、最後に、インド大使館ビベカナンダ文化センター、カニカ・アガルワル所長に、閉会のご挨拶を賜りたいと思います。
His Excellency Shri Sivi George, Ambassador of India to Japan, Swami Medasanandaji, members of Vedanta Society of Japan, Professor Hiroyoshi Sato, ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar. I thank His Excellency for gracing this auspicious event. I also convey my sincerest gratitude to Shri Tuhin Kumar, DG ICCR, for taking out time from his busy schedule to address the gathering. I thank each one of you present here for being a part of this event to pay respect to Swami Vivekananda ji and honor his great philosophical ideas. Your presence has indeed made this event very meaningful. I am especially thankful to the Vedanta Society of Japan for collaborating with us to organize this event. And this particular day is very close to my heart because I share my birthday with Swami Vivekananda ji. Thank you. As mentioned by His Excellency and the other speakers of the day, Swami Vivekananda is an eternal source of inspiration for all of us, especially the youth. He was one of the greatest visionaries of modern India who energized the young people and always motivated them to be firm on their path of righteousness. He infused in them a sense of confidence during their most torrential time. The unveiling of the portrait of Swami Vivekananda in the Embassy of India, Tokyo, on this very special occasion is a matter of great pride for us. I am sure it will constantly remind all of us and all the people visiting the VCC auditorium to arise, awake, and not stop until the goal is reached. Thank you.
Thank you, respected Director, for your closing remarks. 所長、ご挨拶ありがとうございました。このように、本日の、スワミ・ビベカナンダ氏、生誕160年記念式典、は終了となります。ご来場いただきました皆様には、深く御礼申し上げます。This concludes today's program on the occasion of the 160th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. I thank all those present for joining us for this very special occasion. Once again, thank you very much and good night.